I've been thinking a lot about Yahtzee, the dice game. And I was wondering what the maximum possible Yahtzee score is, because I feel like it's probably higher than I think it is. So I decided to look into it. So on your scoreboard, it's split into two sections. You have the upper section and the lower section. In the upper section, you're just adding up the face value of all of the different numbers. So if I roll 5 ones, that's a Yahtzee. But if I don't put that in the Yahtzee box, if I just count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's the face value of my dice, I get 5 points. And then, again, if I roll 5 twos, that's a Yahtzee. But if I just add up the face value of those dice, it's 10. So I would get 10 points. So if I go through and I just imagine that I got Yahtzees for every single one of these 1 through 6, but I didn't count them as Yahtzees, I just counted them, I added up the face value of all of the dice. Interesting decision. But that brings me to a maximum score of 105. But there's this little note here that says, bonus, if total score is 63 or over, score 35. You get 35 bonus points if your total in this section is 63 or above. I don't know where that number came from, but I will gladly take 35 bonus points. So that means that for the upper section, the maximum possible score that I could get is if I got Yahtzees on every single row, and then I also count my 35 bonus points. So total, that is 140. Let's move on to the lower section. So I figure for the 3 of a kind, the 4 of a kind, and a chance, the maximum possible score you could get would be, again, if you rolled a 6 Yahtzee. That would be 30 points in all of those categories. And the remaining things on the scorecard, they all have set point values. So for the full house, no matter what the face value of your dice is, as long as you have a full house, you get 25 points. For a small straight, it's 30 points. For a large straight, it is 40 points. And for a Yahtzee, it is 50 points. But in this scenario, remember, I rolled a lot of Yahtzees. And so there's this rule that if you get a Yahtzee, you get 50 points if you put it in the Yahtzee box. The next time you roll a Yahtzee, the rules say 1 extra Yahtzee equals 100 bonus points. Now, I'm interpreting this as it says 1 extra Yahtzee is 100 bonus points, so they probably mean only 1. You can only get 1 100 bonus points. Even though I've rolled many Yahtzees in this game, I just get 100 bonus points. So if we go ahead and we add up my 3 of a kind and 4 of a kind at a maximum of 30 points each, the full house, 25 points, the small straight, 30 points, the large straight, 40 points, my first Yahtzee, 50 points, and my chance, 30 points, plus my 100 bonus points for having 2 Yahtzees, I get 335 points for the lower section. So now if I just add up the upper section and the lower section, my upper section was 140, lower section 335, add those up, maximum possible Yahtzee score, incredibly unlikely, technically possible, 475. That's a pretty good Yahtzee score. That's actually the best Yahtzee score. But then I had another thought crossed my mind. If I went back and I added up the face value of all of my rolls, what's the lowest possible face value that I could have? Because there are a few different options. Like with the full house, for example, I could roll a full house with a 1, a 1, a 1, a 2, and a 2. That's a really low face value. That's very different than if I rolled a full house with 3 6s and 2 5s. So in this scenario, I'm going to go through and I'm going to add up the lowest possible face value to get the maximum score of 475. And the interesting thing about the rules is that it doesn't say that when you roll a Yahtzee, you have to put that in the Yahtzee box. So when I roll my first roll, let's say it's all ones, I don't have to put that in the Yahtzee box. It would be a smart move to, because what are the odds you roll another Yahtzee? But I don't have to. Keep that in mind. Let's go ahead, let's say I roll, it just so happens that I roll my Yahtzee of 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s all in a row. So that is how I fill out the upper section of my scoreboard, but I don't count any of those as a Yahtzee. Interesting decision. It's important. So what's the face value of all of those rolls? I've already added that up. That's my total before I added on those 35 bonus points. That is 105. Let's move on to the lower section. With the 3 of a kind and 4 of a kind, this is the same as the upper section. I've already done this math. For these boxes, you're just adding up the face value of all your dice anyways. So in this scenario, I have rolled 5 6s for both of these. Neither of these I count as a Yahtzee. I put these in the 3 of a kind and 4 of a kind. This is very calculated. I put this in the 3 of a kind and the 4 of a kind, and the face value is 30 for both of those. Let's go ahead and say that right now I roll a Yahtzee. And let's say for the sake of argument, to keep my face value as low as possible, it's a Yahtzee of 1s. I will put this in the Yahtzee box. I get 50 points, but the face value is 5. For the full house, the lowest possible full house that I could have would be if I rolled 3 1s and 2 2s. That would be a face value of 7. For the small straight, the lowest possible small straight I could roll would be 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 5 dice. Let's say, for the sake of argument, the other die that I roll is a 1. So I have 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is a face value of 11. And this is where I said that you needed to trust me. This is when I roll my second Yahtzee. What I'm going to count as my second Yahtzee. Because on the rules, if you roll multiple Yahtzees, you get 100 bonus points. Put an X in the Yahtzee box, just so you know that you rolled a second Yahtzee, and fill in one of your empty boxes on the scorecard as follows. Number 1, score the total of the 5 dice in the appropriate upper section box. Well, I've already filled out those boxes, so I move on to option 2. If that box is full, it is. It was the first thing I filled out, thank you. Fill in the 3 of a kind or 4 of a kind boxes in the lower section with your 5 dice total. I have already filled those ones out too. There's a third bullet point. 3, if they too are full, use your chance or steal any one of the combos with your 5 of a kind dice. Score as normal. Example, full house is 25 points. So in this scenario, I have already filled out all of my upper section. I have filled out the 3 of a kind, the 4 of a kind, the full house, the small straight, my Yahtzee box. The only options that I have left are chance and large straight. I could put this in chance. I could. But I read the rules. And the rules say that I could put it in chance or I could steal any of the other combos. So I am instead going to put this in my large straight box. I get 40 points for a large straight without having rolled a large straight because this is my second Yahtzee and the upper section is full and the 3 and 4 of a kind is full. Does this make sense? No. But it means that for the large straight, the lowest possible thing that I could have rolled to get my 40 points for the large straight is 5. And then we go ahead and we say that for the chance I roll another 5 6s, and that is another 30 points. Let's go ahead and add this up. For the upper section, we're still at 105. For the lower section, we have 30 for both the 3 and 4 of a kind. Again, this is just face value. This is not point value, this is face value. So 3 and 4 of a kind, we're at 30. Full house, the face value was 7. Small straight, the face value was 11. Large straight, the face value was 5 because this was my second Yahtzee and I had already filled out everything else that I could fill out other than the chance, but it said that I could use chance or steal. For Yahtzee, also 5, and for chance, face value is 30. We go ahead and add all of that up. So the lowest possible face value for the lower section that I could roll to get the maximum amount of points is 118. I take the 105 from the upper section, I add it to the 118 for the lower section. The lowest possible face value that I could roll to get a maximum Yahtzee score of 475 is 223. That's less than half. That's wild. So then I also started wondering, if I had a Yahtzee game where I rolled all 1s the entire game, what is the highest possible score that I could get? And we're going to do a little finagling because I know that rule. I know that rule now about what to do with a bonus Yahtzee. But you have to be careful. You have to be careful with when you use the bonus Yahtzee. So the first time I roll all 1s. Instead of putting that score in the Yahtzee for 50, I will put that in the aces for 5 points. And then I will proceed to put 0s in every other row of the upper section because I never rolled any of the other numbers. So for the upper section, if I rolled all 1s, the maximum possible score that I could get is 5. Let's move on to the lower section. So I'm doing the same thing with the 3 and 4 of a kind. I roll my Yahtzee of 1s, but I'm not going to count it as a Yahtzee yet. I'm going to count this as a 3 of a kind and get 5 points. For the 4 of a kind, I'm going to do the same thing, not count it as a Yahtzee, count it as a 4 of a kind, add up the face value, 5. The full house, I will never roll a full house with just 1s, so I get 0 points. Same thing with the small straight. I can never roll a small straight with just 1s, so I get 0 points. Let's say that on this next roll, I decide to count this as a Yahtzee. I get my 50 points for rolling a Yahtzee. And the next roll, I rolled a Yahtzee again. But now there's something in every row of the upper section. The 3 of a kind and the 4 of a kind have already been taken. So I get to steal one of the other options. I can get the 40 points for the large straight. Again, does this rule make sense? I don't think so. But it's written there, so I get to utilize it. And then for my last roll, I roll a chance. Same thing, add up the face value of all of my 1s. That would be 5. So for the upper section, I only got 5 points. But for the lower section, I get a surprising amount of points. I get 5 points for my 3 of a kind. I get 5 points for my 4 of a kind. I get 5 points for my chance. I get 50 points for my Yahtzee. And then for my second Yahtzee, immediately after getting Yahtzee, I stole the points for the large straight. So that is 40 points for the large straight. Even though I never rolled a large straight, I rolled a Yahtzee. And then I also get 100 bonus points for getting a second Yahtzee. So the maximum possible score, rolling all 1s, in the lower section of my scoreboard is 205. And if I add that to the 5 points that I had in the upper section, I could get a maximum score of 210 if I rolled all 1s. Who knew? I guess now I do. I think if you played Yahtzee like this, someone would get mad at you. If on your very first roll you rolled 5 1s and you said, I'm actually not going to count this as a Yahtzee, I'm going to count this as 5 points in the 1, they would look at you like you have 6 heads. And then if you did it again, you rolled all 2s and you said, I'm not going to count this one as a Yahtzee either. And then if you got to the point of, I rolled a Yahtzee that I am finally now counting as a Yahtzee, and now for this next Yahtzee, I'm going to use it to get the points from the large straight, they would probably kick you out of their house. It could be your house. They're going to kick you out of your own house. You technically didn't break the rules. So if you're ever playing Yahtzee, and you're confident that every single time you roll, you can get a Yahtzee if you want to. Because remember, you're still going to need to get the full house and the small straight. But if you're confident you can get a Yahtzee every single time, and you can control which numbers, because it's very dependent. You're going to need many Yahtzees of 6s, and you're only going to need 1 Yahtzee of 2s. But if you're confident that you can do it, fill out the upper section first, and then the 3 and 4 of a kind, before you even entertain the idea of putting something in the Yahtzee box. But don't leave the Yahtzee for last, because if you leave the Yahtzee for the very end, you will lose out on your 100 bonus points. And then you also wouldn't be able to utilize the fun rule of, if you get a Yahtzee and everything else has already been filled out, you can just steal the points from a large straight with your Yahtzee, which again, does it make sense? Not really. The more you know.